In the age of streaming, one hot topic is album length. How long should an album be? This is a hot topic because a longer album typically leads to more streams than a shorter one. Therefore, more money for the service and more money to the label. But this has created a big problem because it incentivizes artists to make longer, bloated albums filled with filler rather than a shorter, more concise one. Longer albums aren't anything new, of course. I always think about Jay-Z's The Blueprint and how it's a perfect hour-long album, but then for some reason he doubled the length for The Blueprint 2, or Nas's jump from Illmatic to It Was Written. But in the current age, streaming services just offer longer albums so many more benefits, like the curated Spotify playlists that get tons of listens. Now, I don't know who's listening to these very surface level playlists, but apparently there's an audience for it. I remember when Drake dropped Scorpion, which was like Spotify's wet dream, just a long ass album that had songs plastered all over their playlists. It actually turned into a huge joke because Spotify had the cover as Drake for different genres and playlists that didn't even have one of his songs on it. Now, whenever I think about bloated albums for the sole purpose of getting a bunch of streams and taking advantage of these benefits, I always think about Culture 2 by Migos. Culture 2 is 24 tracks deep and comes in at a whopping hour and 45 minutes long. And while Migos might contain 3 rappers in itself, it still doesn't justify the length. There's no artist, band, or even just person I want to listen to for almost 2 hours straight. And trust me, I gotta deal with the voices up here enough. Culture 2 is just a cash grab album, which really sucks because Culture 1 is a fantastic album that's only 13 songs deep and clocks in at just under an hour. And Culture 1 still did numbers. It's not like you had to double the length of the album just to turn a profit. Also, Culture 2 only came out a year after the first one. It's not like they went on hiatus for a long time producing a ton of songs. It's sad because you can slim down Culture 2 into 13 songs and you would have an album that's just as good as Culture 1. But that's not the reality. The album is filled to the brim with boring, forgettable songs with no redeeming qualities like the song Superstars.
Superstars, superstars, superstars out. Hey, brand new cars, we by the bar now.
Like, what a fucking waste of a song. On the flip side, I don't think all long albums are bad. There's definitely a time and a place for an album with a longer running time. For example, I'm totally cool with the Carter 5's length. Like Culture 2, the Carter 5 comes in at 23 tracks deep, and the total length is just short of an hour and a half. I was okay with this length because the Carter 5 was a myth for years, and it was a really long time since Lil Wayne put out a full-length album. I'm not counting the Free Wheezy album in this, only because it was still caught up with some weird label stipulations. It was also ran by Birdman at that time, so I'm not counting it. It's non-canon. I make the rules. And for the most part, the Carter 5 is filled with quality songs. They all sound interesting enough and different from one another that it keeps me listening to the whole album. What I'm saying is that a longer album isn't inherently bad. There's a mix of context and personal taste that factors into how long an album should be, because a shorter album isn't always the best move either. When I think about short albums in the streaming era, I always immediately think about the Stretch of Wyoming albums, and I think it's the perfect experiment to show what works well with shorter albums and what doesn't. In my opinion, Daytona is as perfect as an album as you can get. Front to back, this album is all killer, no filler. There isn't a single piece of fat on the bone. And that kind of album really plays to Pusha T's strengths. It's only 21 minutes long, but it's 21 minutes straight of non-stop Pusha T doing what he's best at. In that same vein, let's take a look at Kids See Ghosts. While Kids See Ghosts is also on the same tier of quality as Daytona, I do have one issue with it. It's a collaboration album between Kanye and Kid Cudi that also has features on it, and it comes in at 23 minutes long. For an album between two huge artists like Kanye and Kid Cudi, I just think 23 minutes is too short. By the time I'm fully invested in the album, it's already almost over. While Daytona did have 2 features on it, the album was mainly just Pusha T straight up rapping. Kanye and Kid Cudi are much more versatile artists, and it shows on this album. That's kind of why I love Daytona's length, but kind of wanted a little bit more from Kids See Ghosts. This doesn't take anything away from the quality, it's still incredible. Kanye might be a racist, anti-Semitic, piece of shit, narcissistic asshole, but he fucking knows music, I guess. If you had 3 3 to 4 more songs onto Kids Egos, I think you're dealing with a complete masterpiece on your hands. And I feel very similar about The Weeknd's My Dear Melancholy. It's 6 great songs from The Weeknd, and it actually includes 2 of my favorite Weeknd songs with Privilege and Call Out My Name. But it's so short that I just get sad after I'm done listening to it. I'm also sad when I'm listening to it, but that has nothing to do with its length. It's like getting an appetizer when you want a full course meal. Whoa, 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 whoa. I said full course meal, not a buffet. There we go, that's perfect. I know I'm being a little picky with how long I want an album to be and being a little extra, but it really does play a really important part with how we perceive an album. As I've gotten older, my time has gotten a lot more limited. I no longer have the time to sit through a new NBA YoungBoy album every single week, and I certainly do not have time to sit through 2 hours of mid. In my opinion, the perfect album length is around 30 to 50 minutes depending on the artist. Vince Staples is someone who has had album length cracked for years. Since 2016, he's been dropping albums pretty consistently, and they're all around 20 to 40 minutes long. And that is the exact output I would want from someone like Vince Staples. At the end of the day, I think the perfect album length is really as long as the artist needs to properly portray their vision. But don't tell me you need 3 fucking hours to portray this vision, C. Breezy. Fuck you, Chris Brown. But of course, everything is subjective. This is just my opinion on the topic. Let me know what you think the perfect album length is in the comments below. And as always, make sure to fucking smash that like and subscribe button, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye. Bye.